Wow. Good morning, Dr. Salisbury, Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, alumni, family, friends, fellow Mountaineers, and especially the graduating class of 2019. I wish you guys could see what I see from here. You guys look amazing. Being up here looking at you is literally one of the greatest moments of my life and a profound honor. I can't tell you what a privilege it is to speak to you today. So a little about my experience with Western. I've enjoyed working closely with Western Colorado University for the past 23 years, caring for its students and athletes. I know that to cross this stage is something to be proud of, class of 2019. You are graduating from an extraordinary institution of higher learning. Some of you came here for Western's academic excellence, to learn from distinguished faculty, deepen your knowledge of one of Western's nationally recognized programs. Some of you may have been drawn here more for its athletics. We have some of the most awesome athletes that come through this college. Isn't that amazing? And still, some of you may have come simply because you want to light the W on fire or partake in campus golf. Regardless of the reason you came, and that alone tells me so much about you. Because Western is a special place, and it attracts a special type of student. As a Western student, you chose to come to the hardy, mining, farming, and ranching town of Gunnison, Colorado, 1.5 miles above sea level. That's where I grew up, where you might find snow on the ground for 6 months of the year and some of the coldest winter temperatures in the US. This tells me that you guys have grit. You also chose to come to the base camp of the Rocky Mountains, where ski resorts, some of the greatest mountain biking on the planet, and all the hunting, fishing, and climbing you could wish for are just a short drive or walk away. This tells me that you were built for adventure. You also chose to come not to a bustling city to swim in a sea of faces, but to a picturesque town in a close-knit community where you see your professors walking down the street, where you learn not just your classmates' names, but their stories, and where you can't help but feel the love of the town that for 4 years you have called your home. This is how I know you're gracious. It's these qualities that not only led you to Western, but also helped you get through the last 4 years and allowed you to make the most of them. They are also the qualities that will serve you well as you head out into the rest of your lives. You are a tough, intrepid, genial bunch, class of 2019. We are already proud to call you Western Colorado University graduates. Now, before I go on, and speaking of tough bunches, I also want to take a moment to congratulate the parents, grandparents, family, and friends of these men and women sitting before us today. Getting a college education is truly a privilege. Many of you made sacrifices and supported these students tirelessly to help them get here today. I can only imagine how proud you must be. That's you too, Jenny and Danny. Thank you for commitment to them. This is your day too. In the days leading up to this event, I was thinking about what words of wisdom I might offer as an orthopedic surgeon. When you saw that it was me addressing you today rather than Elon Musk, Bill Gates, or Oprah, I'm sure you were too. But the words I want to offer you are not from a surgeon. They are from someone who is sitting exactly where you are. I was pathologically shy as a child and severely bullied on account of it. So much so that I ended up going to a special school to escape the cruelty of my peers, and I skipped high school in order to get on with my life. Like you, my graduation was the culmination of years of hard work and effort. But of course, it was also just the beginning. A commencement. A world of challenges and opportunity lay before me that day, as they do you today. The only thing I can offer you in light of this is what I learned navigating my path from this seat forward. Because I was so pathologically shy growing up, my only friends literally were animals. Shout out to you there, Doug. And I thought I would become a veterinarian. Then when I was 16, I had a terrible accident that resulted in more knee surgeries than I can count, and I became interested in orthopedic surgery. When I told my own orthopedist that I wanted to be like him, he said, "Well, you can't. women are not strong enough to be orthopedic surgeons. It's true. So I joined a gym that day and became a bodybuilder. Thank you. I didn't want to hear that I couldn't do what I wanted because I was a woman or wasn't strong enough. When interviewing for a spot to an esteemed orthopedic residency years later after receiving my medical degree, I was told by the male medical director that there were no women in this program because, again, women aren't strong enough to be orthopedic surgeons. I had heard these words so many times, every interview I went, and I was tired of it. So I challenged him to an arm wrestling contest. I told him that if I lost, I would leave the interview right now. But if I won, he had to treat me like every other male at this interview. I think everyone in the room was surprised when I beat him handily. Although, truthfully, I think I could have beat Arnold Schwarzenegger because the amount of adrenaline in my blood was enormous. I was offered a spot in this program, but I have to admit, it felt slightly gratifying when I turned him down. I ended up being offered a spot at one of the best orthopedic hospitals in the nation and went to Columbia Presbyterian in New York City. 5 years later, I really wanted to train with the renowned sports medicine pioneer, Dr. Freddie Fu at the University of Pittsburgh Center for Sports Medicine. I became the first woman in his program. And finally, I became the specialist in a field where at the time less than 1% were women. The reason I tell you these stories is that you have to go after the future that you want and persist. Don't let anyone tell you that you don't have the right attributes or the right gender or the right nationality. You have to go for whatever it is in life that you want. You have to follow your passion. To not do so is doing a disservice to all of us. It's robbing us of the gifts that only you have. So embrace your courage and your strength and your authentic self and go do and be whatever and whomever it is that's in your heart. There's no limit to the amount of good you can do in the world by staying true to yourself and steadfast on your path. Lesson number 1 is to follow your passion and never give up. The second words of wisdom I have for you today may sound a little cliche. What I want to tell you is to dream big because dreaming works. Dreaming big is exactly what got me to where I am today, and it will be what leads me to where I'm going tomorrow. I learned about dreaming big from my dad. My parents were born in Europe. They survived the Holocaust. My mother had been hidden as a child in Holland, and my father survived multiple concentration camps, including Auschwitz. They both immigrated to the US and years later met each other in California. My father couldn't speak English when he came to the States, and his highest level of education because of the war was grade 7. But he dreamed about having a safe and comfortable life in the United States and being able to provide for a family. This was a really big dream for someone who had narrowly escaped the Nazi concentration camps, unlike most of his family. He taught himself English, learned how to be a watchmaker, holding fast to his dream every day. He married my mom. I can't look at you, Mom, I'll cry. Who was the most inspirational and loving mother I could ever wish for. It had 3 children, all of whom ended up graduating college, and raised us safely in a comfortable home in Southern California. He achieved all of this because he dreamed and worked incredibly hard. I came to adopt my dad's philosophy. Once I became an orthopedist after I finished my residency and my fellowship and began practicing here in Gunnison, Colorado, I set my sights on a new goal. I wanted to practice the ultimate sports medicine. I wanted to be a doctor for the Olympics. Who would think? There was no reason for me to think this was possible. I was a young, newer doc, a woman, but it was my dream. I thought about it all the time. What would it feel like to be asked? What would it feel like to march in opening ceremonies at an Olympics? 15 years ago, I received a letter from the United States Olympic Committee inviting me to become a physician for the Team USA at the 2004 Olympic Games in Athens. I was beside myself with joy and gratitude as I called my parents. Remember, Mom? I was crying on the phone. She thought I was hurt. I was crying so much. After Athens, I desperately wanted to work with Olympians again, but I was told that for medical staff, one and done. You only get to go once. I didn't like that. So I dreamed and I worked harder and harder than ever. To date, I've been to 3 Olympic Games, 2 Paralympic Games, and was the chief medical officer 3 times. I'm telling you, dreaming works. Thank you. So does hard work. I often tell my kids, Jacob and Skylar, my favorite quote, there is not a lot of competition in the extra mile, and that's true. What I said earlier is worth repeating. Create the future you want. Create it by imagining it, seeing it, feeling it, holding on to it, and never letting it go. Create the biggest and brightest version of your life and work that you can think of. Create the version that brings you fulfillment and joy and fills you with inspiration and wonder. There are a lot of problems out there that need solving, class of 2019, a lot of opportunities to make a difference. Just as you would be doing the world a disservice by not pursuing your purpose, so too would you be doing a disservice by staying small. Nothing great ever got done in the world by playing it safe. So lesson number 2 is to show up with your greatest, boldest, most powerful selves and dream big. The last thing I'd like to share with you is not so much something I derived from a story in my life, but something I have learned along the way. The secret to creating an amazing life after you follow your passion and dream big is this: remember your humanity and seek it out in others. No matter where you go or what you do, life is about people. That's it. Connect with them. Remember that we are all more similar than dissimilar. Find the ways in which this is true. Connecting with others requires being brave and being vulnerable. You have to show your cards with your family and with strangers, with your coworkers and your employees, with your friends and with your enemies. Show up with the parts of you that you're proud of and the parts that need work. The parts that know the answers and the parts that don't even know where to begin. The parts that are eager and hungry and the parts that are hesitant and want to back away. Let these parts be seen in you. In every interaction, see how you can close the space between you and others instead of increasing the distance. This is how ideas get generated, problems get solved, people get inspired, and the world gets changed. So lesson 3, and my last lesson, is to connect. So those are the 3 lessons I have. The most impactful things that I have learned from your seat to this podium. Follow your passion and never give up. Dream big and connect. Of course, you have to work hard too, but hard work alone is not enough. These are the things that make the difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one. And for those of us around you, an ordinary world and an extraordinary one. So I've shared with you guys a few words of wisdom today. But let's face it, nobody remembers the lessons shared with them on their graduation day. It's true. I went to school for 1,000,000 years to become a doctor, and I don't even remember who spoke on that momentous occasion. But I do remember one thing. I spoke about my dad earlier in this speech. I referenced the incredible role he played in my life and how I emulated him. What I didn't share is that it had been his dream to become a doctor too. But he had very little education, needed to learn English and a trade to take care of a family in America. So on my medical school graduation day, I sincerely felt like this was for both of us. When my name was called, you guys are gonna feel this in a few minutes, it's awesome. And I took the stage, I shook the dean's hand, accepted my diploma, and looked out into the crowd to meet my father's gaze. Beside my overjoyed mother, I saw an empty seat. As I continued across the stage, I could feel my heart sinking. My dad missed it. This moment I was so proud of achieving, not just for me, but for him as well. As I neared the end of the stage, my eyes already brimming with tears, I saw someone out of the corner of my eye. There he was. He wasn't in his seat because he snuck behind the stage. He wanted to look in my eyes if that diploma reached my hand. I don't even know how to describe in words the look, the gaze, the feeling that we exchanged in that moment. I can't tell you what it meant to me. And it continues to serve as an anchor. Because even though it may seem like I have it all figured out, or by this age, not that I'm that old, or a place in my career that I should, but I can assure you I most certainly do not. I don't remember who the speaker was that day. I don't remember what they said. What I do remember is my dad and everything that meant to me. That is what I go back to when times get tough, or I feel like I've lost my way. That is what reminds me of where I came from, what I accomplished, where I wanted to go, and why. So, right now, class of 2019, knowing how unmemorable I'm going to be someday, that is what I want you to do. I want you to create an anchor. I want you to create a moment that will remind you of what you've done in the past 4 years, of who you are, and of what you want to accomplish in this world. So please, look into the crowd, find of or think of a parent, a friend, a family member, a teacher, a mentor, or this sea of strangers that are here to support this graduating class. And anchor this moment into your mind and into your heart. Revisit it whenever you feel lost. If you don't remember anything else about this day, let this be what guides you as you move forward. Class of 2019, I can't wait to see the difference you're going to make in the world. Go be bold, be creative, take risks, forge new paths. Don't be afraid to fail, because failure is our greatest teacher. Arm wrestle if you need to. Now go crush it.
Amazing woman. Thank you.